Welcome to Traveling Light, where I take you along on my adventures and share some photographic insights as I go along. Now, I've been a photographer all my life, professional and otherwise, and one thing I love is photography. In this series, I want to firstly have fun, and secondly, learn something new. The focus is on the camera and what it can do. In the last episode, I tested out the Charmera's monochrome effects at Durban's Maritime Museum. It was a fun Durban expedition and I definitely learned a lot. The basic monochrome effects are warm, cool and black and white, and for each image I also included a normal shot. So if you're interested in checking out the Charmera's monochrome effects, take a look at episode 5. Before we begin, I want to say this up front. I'm not sponsored by Kodak in any shape or form, or by anyone else to be honest. I paid for this camera. So what are we doing today? Well, we're once again off on a classic Durban photographic expedition. As it stands now, the plan is as follows. I'll be dropped off at Moses Mabhida Stadium, and my friends will head for the beachfront. I'll join them after my photographic walk. There are also 2 new statues that have recently been unveiled, one at the stadium and one on the beachfront, so I also want to check them out. This time I'm testing the Charmera's 4 pixel effects, which are red, blue, yellow and black and white. I'm very keen to see what they can do. For this test, once again, I'll be shooting in sets of 4 to showcase each pixel effect. Just like the monochrome effects, I want to compare apples with apples. I can't wait. The same ground rules apply. No color correction and no cropping. I'll show you the images as shot. Well, we're here. Moses Mabhida was the General Secretary of the South African Communist Party, and this stadium, built for the 2010 Soccer World Cup, was named after him. He fought against the apartheid regime. I see the stadium is currently undergoing renovations or repairs. Recently, 2 brand new statues were also unveiled here in Durban, and they caused quite a stir. They are of Nelson Mandela and Oliver Tambo, and I want to pay them a visit today. Being 10 meters tall and cast in bronze, you can imagine they cost quite a few millions. One school of thinking says they are a fitting tribute to 2 iconic leaders, and the other says the money could have been better spent on more pressing needs, like addressing poverty. Either way, they are currently the talk of the town. I'm not going to weigh in on the politics. I'm here to take photos using the Charmera, so the statues to me are fun and fair game. Mandela was still in prison on Robben Island during the 80s, so it's kind of fitting to get the Charmera out and start with a statue of Nelson Mandela with the Moses Mabhida Stadium in the background. I'm going to be walking from here to the beachfront and then on to the casino, where I'll hook up again with my friends. It's a beautiful day here in Durban and I'll take photos as I go along. It is a bit bright, not the best conditions for the Charmera, but it is what it is. We'll see what we get. For starters, this is the bust of Moses Mabhida himself. Just check out that mustache, it's pretty impressive. So, what exactly is the pixel effect? My take on it is there are no shades of grey. Each pixel is either on or off, either black or a single colour. I love the idea and reckon if there's one thing I'll definitely play with after the series is done, it'll be the black and white pixel effect. Minimalism in action, I reckon. We'll see. There's so much to shoot, I don't know where to look, but I'll tell you this much, I'm having plenty of fun. So, while I amble along taking pictures, let's talk about how far we have come. In episode 1, I unboxed the Charmera and took it for its first test drive. I learned that without an SD card you can take only 2 images, and that contrary to what it says in the manual, it doesn't load up like a hard drive on my computer. I did find a solution, so if you're experiencing that particular problem, be sure to check out episode 1. In episode 2, I learned the hard way that the Charmera doesn't function very well in bright light. I applied that knowledge in episode 3, which was a fun walk where I tested out the 4 embedded frames. My favorite one was the film one, so if you want to check out the frames, then go and check out episode 3. In episode 4, I tested the Charmera's video capability, as well as its sound. I think some more tests might be in order, but on the day, I thought it performed very well. In the last episode, episode 5, I took the Charmera to Durban's Maritime Museum and tested the 3 embedded monochrome effects. That was also a fun Durban expedition, and I particularly liked the warm one. Which brings us here to today and the evaluation of the pixel effect. Once we're done, that's it for the Charmera's built-in capabilities. But it's not the end of this Charmera's series. I've got an awesome and interesting surprise lined up for next week. I'm keeping it a secret until then. But beyond that, I want to do at least 1 or 2 more episodes leveraging what I've learned. For the grand finale, my plan is to produce the entire episode using only the Charmera. I hope to play only to its strengths, and I've got something mega up my sleeve. Well, I think that brings us to the end of this walk, but not the end of this shoot. There's one more set of photos I need to take. Yes, let's not forget our other good friend, Oliver Tambo, who is now finally free of his wrappings. Okay, cool. That's Oliver in the bag, so it's time to head home and assess. Okay, I've copied the images across and we're good to go. Just like the monochrome tests, for the pixel effects I also took 4. Let me introduce you to them, warts and all. First up is the red. It doesn't contrast very well with the black, and nor does the blue. One problem I noticed immediately while at the stadium is the tiny Charmera screen makes it very hard to compose the image using red or blue. You just can't make out the details. The yellow is much better, but in the end, I found myself composing each image using the white, and then cycling through the others, taking the images blind. That made all of the difference. Now let's evaluate the actual image itself. This first image tells us a lot. The usual Charmera blown out highlights have blown out the stadium entirely. It's not a terrible composition, but I wouldn't really be able to tell there's a stadium in the background. Not a surprising result considering the bright conditions, but it's important to me to show both the wins and the fails, and analyze why it failed if it does. Warts and all, as I said earlier. I'd class this one as a fail. Let's look at the next one. This one is much better because I've isolated the subject. I think many South Africans would even identify Nelson Mandela, although that may be due to his iconic gesture. I really do like this pixel effect. This image itself is certainly not perfect, but my mind is already jumping ahead to how I can leverage this pixel effect under perfect conditions. A semi-win. Next. You see what I mean? The effect is quite striking when you do get it right. A fun and interesting detail shot. To be honest, the red, blue and yellow don't really do it for me, but they are fun when you arrange them like this. It looks like pop art. I guess I could see myself using them as part of a set, but not really individually. This one's a win. In this one, the pole really distracts, but I wanted to try the same shot from a few different angles. I think the statue is very well rendered, but this one's a fail. The statue could have been more to the right and the pole could have been left out. A better composition would make this one a win. For this one, the deep shadows under the awning are totally black, and the awnings themselves are totally white, so a high contrast image like this just doesn't work. This one's a fail, but I'm certainly learning. And here is Moses Mabhida once again, an acceptable but borderline shot. I would have liked to see more of the details, but this image is graphic and a very usable publicity shot. There's plenty of space for some text on the left, which would balance the image. Could be improved, but a win. Let's look at the next one. Now we're talking. There's no doubt this one's a win, and we can pause here and examine each color one by one. I like the red when the image supports it. It's a very graphic look, straight out of the 80s I'd say. And the same goes for the blue. Using primary colors makes them pop. I do like the yellow, but somehow it's less intense than the others. It's not a very intense yellow or nearly as rich as the others, considering it's also a primary. The white is the best one by far in my opinion, and I would easily print this one out, frame it and hang it on my wall. That's a question I often ask myself when evaluating my images. Would I have it in my home, hanging on my wall? This is probably the first Charmera image where I'd even consider doing that. Maybe the warm version of the statue at the Maritime Museum came pretty close. I'm now officially a fan of the Kodak Charmera's black and white pixel effect. That's pretty funny. A big win. Moving on. As the saying goes, the devil's in the detail, and that saying seems to be very pertinent here. Too much detail in this case. It makes the image too busy. Not a total failure, but also not a clear win. I do love these Durban palms, and I've photographed them many times before, but never quite like this. They just have a look, and it's another clear win. This one would be fantastic in an advertisement for just about anything tropical. Once more, I also like this one in a set. Red, blue, yellow and white. So graphic. This is where we say goodbye to the Moses Mabhida Stadium. Looking back, it is one of the better ones of the stadium itself, but it still lacks something. Also not a clear win. Next. Again, such a simple image packing such a visual punch. I really like this pixel effect when it works well. I've said before that the Charmera is a toy, and it is, but toys are for playing with, and I'll play with this effect again in the future. This is a very powerful image. From a commercial angle is what I mean. I framed it exactly as I wanted it, with the word Durban stealing the show. There's space on the left for text, although I think text would maybe compete unless it was in a block, like a block of text in a magazine. Not too big. Maybe some details about Durban. A solid, usable, highly focused publicity shot. A big win. I was trying to get fancy here and I think it backfired. I wanted the palm leaf in the foreground to frame the palm tree at the back. It very nearly did work, but it could be much better. Next. Photographing the photographer, a metaphor of some sort. I do love the bird, but I couldn't isolate the statue against the sky from the other angle, so I'm not sure I did very well. I might even come back to reshoot this one in the future. As I say, for this one, I'm unsure. This one's clearly a win on every level. The details are fantastic. Do you see the flamingos? This one works well in all the colors, and again, it also works so well as a collage. I'll say it again, I like this effect so much, and I think it's this camera's strongest point. This tool I think I can leverage commercially, and it's really so quick. Click, get it right, and there's no need for post-production. A big one, but time to move on. For this one, I would have really liked to see more of an outline, so it's more of a fail than a win. I'm not going to linger. Next one. This one is better than the last one, but again, I would have liked to see more of an outline on the building. That said, it's not actually bad, more of a win than a fail, but by no means something to write home about. This one brings us to the end of the slideshow. Oliver for the win. It's really a good shot. He's well framed, well lit, and his posture is so strong. He's well anchored, and this one shows once again just how powerful this effect can be. So, that's it for this expedition. Now I have to choose my favorite 4, and then choose a color for each of those 4. Let's start with a selection. This one's a no-brainer, and this one as well. These are 2 great shots. The other 2 are more difficult. Yes, it's a tough choice. As a shortlist, I think I have to choose 2 of these 3. Oliver, the graphic palm tree, and this one. So simple, but packing a punch. I think I'll go with the palm plus Oliver, although I'll admit that I'm conflicted. Which one would you choose? Let me know in the comments. As for the colors, it's pretty much a mix and match. The tree, I want to be black and white, and the palm tree and the roller skates lend themselves to red and blue. So Oliver gets the yellow. Awesome, I'll post these 4 on Instagram. If I was into screen printing, which I have been in the past, then this is the camera I'd use to originate a lot of my artwork. It couldn't be easier, and this graphic look lends itself to so many practical applications. I mean, your imagination is the only limit here. There are endless possibilities. Which brings us to the end of this episode. I've got a major surprise up my sleeve for the next one, so you're just going to have to wait and see what comes out. I think, on that note, it's time for me to bow out. So, spot you next time. For the moment, it's over and out.